Hey everybody, this story is so wild that I had to share it with you on here. A wee forewarning for the sensitive among you, this gets a bit heavy. So first, a wee bit of background info for context. So I'm currently living in New Zealand, but I rent a small 2-bedroom flat in Paisley, which is near Glasgow in Scotland. This flat I got a few years ago after leaving Germany as a sort of base, a place to stay when I would visit the UK and Europe. It contains all my furniture and clothes and all my belongings that I had in Germany. See my old apartment to a video to get an idea of what that's like. I needed to keep my stuff somewhere, and Paisley being, let's be honest, the shithole that it is, it was cheaper to rent a flat there than to get a storage facility. Anyway, I only got to be there for a few weeks before having to go back to New Zealand. This was pre-COVID. And then COVID came along, and with borders closing, no one allowed in or out of either country, my flat was empty for 3 years. During that time, it was burgled. I made another whole video about that story. Anyway, I rented the flat from a guy called Vlas. He was the most hopeless landlord I have ever had. For example, it took him 8 weeks to send me a plumber for an urgent problem, but he seemed like a friendly and nice enough guy. I kept in touch with him on Facebook and asked him to check on the flat during the COVID period. Vlas doesn't own the flat. He's an agent for another man who owns several properties, and Vlas just looked after them for him. Like, that's his job, a kind of private property manager. Everything flat related was to be handled by Vlas, and it was to him that I paid my rent. We, Mr. Al, Severine and I stayed at the Paisley flat last year for 6 months and came back to New Zealand in November. Because it had been burgled before, this time I set up a security camera in the flat pointing at the front door. You can talk through it, and my phone pings every time the camera detects movement. I get a few pings on my phone every week. It's usually just a moth or the letterbox flap. So you can imagine how my heart raced the other day when my phone pings at 8 AM and I actually see a person breaking through the door. There's a young man with a torch breaking in and 2 others standing behind him in the doorway. So I say over the thing, "Why are you in my flat? I'm calling the police." The guy sees my camera and knocks it over. Then, realizing that I can hear him, he rights the camera and informs me that he is the son of the man who owns the flat. He said that no rent has been paid for about 9 months. The mounting pile of post by the door made it obvious that no one had been there for a while, and he'd asked the neighbors if they knew anything about me, but no one did. So he had to break in to see what was going on. Sorry if you can hear that wee noise, my baby's playing with a rattle. Hey Papa, you playing with a rattle. So I tell him, "What the fuck? I've paid my rent every month. I've never missed a payment. I can prove it. I pay it every month to Vlas like I was told." "Oh," he says, "Vlas is in jail." "In jail?" I said. "What for?" "Human trafficking." Yeah. It was in the news. I know, right? Anyway, the guy gave me his dad's phone number and put the camera back in position. So I googled it, and sure enough, there's his mugshot. Turns out Vlas wasn't a nice guy, but a vile, disgusting, evil piece of shit. He was part of a small ring who were bringing women in from Thailand and China with the promise of genuine jobs, taking away their passports on arrival and forcing them into prostitution. Because he had access to so many flats, he had ample place to set this up. So he's in jail for 7 years. Is 7 years long enough for someone who ruined those women's lives and traumatized them forever? Despicable, disgraceful, disgusting. I mean, it is actually evil, isn't it? That's the only word for it. It's evil. I feel gross even knowing someone who was involved in that. You really don't know who you can trust sometimes until it's too late. Anyway, I've since gotten in touch with the owner and sorted it all out with him. I'm not in trouble and will just pay rent directly to him now, but my 9 months of rent money is still trapped in Vlas's account. The owner told me he'd actually lost another flat to the bank because Vlas had given it to his business partner who never paid for it. Unbelievable. It really staggers belief. Like, I'm just so mortified. Bloody hell. I would not have thought it before now because I, you know, pretty much trusted the guy, but now I'm pretty suspicious that it might have been him who burgled the flat. The police said it looked like it might have been done by someone who had access to a key, and when I asked Vlas if the door had ever been unlocked when he'd come to check on the place during COVID, he said it hadn't. Maybe if I mention that to the police now and have investigated further, maybe his sentence could be extended. Anyway, I want out of this situation, and whenever I'm able to get back to Scotland, hopefully soonish, I want to get out of that place. It's no good as a base for me now that I have the 2 children, and it's in a dodgy tenement building anyway. Like I said, it was really cheap. Like, I would find drug paraphernalia in the close, which isn't the best environment. I haven't decided yet what I'm doing with my belongings. Sorry about the noise in the background. Baby's playing with some toys. What is a bit funny was the guy's reaction when he broke into the place. So he comes in with this torch and it's dark and he's like, "What the fuck? What is that? what is all this? Because of course my flat is full of skulls and skeletons and coffins, etc. So that is the story that it was too insane not to share with you on here. While you're here, please subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so. Please stay safe and be wary of who you trust. And as always, take care of yourself, be nice to each other, and I will see you next time. Bye.